Okay, the slide واضحة أمامكم.
Yes.
So let's start. Imperative sentences, the basic function of these clauses is to give what? Is to give commands. يعني احنا من خلالها نعطي الأمر. Of course, imperative clauses, I'm talking about both languages, English and Arabic. There are forms, يعني أكو صيغ إلها. In English, the typical form or the structure of an imperative sentence uses the base verb with no subject. This is in general. That is to say, the subject is covered. Covered, it means it is not explicit. It is not stated on the surface structure of the clause. In fact, many imperative sentences consist of nothing but the verb. For example, when I say stop, or sometimes, in order to lessen the effect of the command, we use please. When I say please sit here, you know that whether in statements or in questions or in imperative clauses, we have a polarity. And you know what I mean by polarity? Polarity, it means, for example, in imperative clauses, it means imperative sentences can be in positive or negative form. This is polarity and can refer to present or future time. This is the reference. I'm talking about imperative clauses. Their reference is to show the present or the future time. Now, if we ask a question, what is the basic function of an imperative sentence? يعني وظيفتها الأساسية شنو? What is the basic function of an imperative sentence? The usual job of an imperative sentence is to give a command or instruction. And sometimes you give instructions, تعطي تعليمات. In fact, it tells us to do something. For example, help. I am seeking help from my listeners, from my audience. I want someone to save me, to rescue me. Go now. This is an order. Don't sit here. This is a prohibition or prevention. Before I go through these features, which are the features of an imperative or a command, although we use imperative sentences to give direct commands, and this is an important point, although we use imperative sentences to give direct commands, we can also use them to give instructions more politely than a straight command. Instructions are quite common. For example, in a user guide to explain how to operate a machine, imperatives can also be used with words like please or kindly to add politeness. يعني حتى أضفي صيغة التأدب على الأمر اللي أنا أعطيه ممكن أستخدم please or kindly. You know that context is very important, dear students. سياق يعني ذو أهمية, especially in this topic, which is what? Giving commands. When you are in the army, or when there is a user guide, when you are in a school, when you are in an airplane, when you are in a hotel, when you are talking to your friends. So context is different. This is highly important. Suppose that you are in a school and I say, now, wash your hands. This is a positive command. But when I say, don't forget your homework, this is a negative command. Normally, when we use the imperative, as I have mentioned, there is no subject. This is the normal case. Why? Because the subject is obvious. It is understood out of the context. It is you, the addressee, المخاطب. But sometimes we make the subject clear. That is to say, we do use a subject. For example, in English, everybody look. When I say everybody look, where is the subject? It is everybody. It is explicit, واضح. Or I can shift the subject to the end. I can say, for example, relax, everybody. Look, everybody. Nobody move. I'm going to talk about this example later. Somebody answer the phone. Here, the subject is somebody. So sometimes the subject is what is mentioned, and there are reasons, of course, أكو أسباب. Sometimes when I use the subject you, I express my anger, my irritation. You, be quiet. Don't you talk to me like that. I am expressing my anger here. I imply what? Imply anger. It is said that sometimes we have unreal command. unreal commands. غير حقيقية. What does this mean? It means we give different functions. We are not giving commands. We have different functions. When I say, for example, have a good trip, here I express my hope that you will have a good trip. But the form is what is a command. هو الشكل أمر. But I'm expressing what? Expressing a hope. Enjoy the meal. احنا مرات نقول بالعافية يعني بلهجتنا. Also I'm expressing what? I hope that you will enjoy your meal. Now let us see in this slide the English imperatives features. What characterizes English imperative? The first feature is no overt subject. يعني الفاعل غير واضح غير موجود في الشكل السطحي للجملة. But as I have mentioned, it is what it is understood. Generally, there is an addressee. So the first feature of an English imperative is no overt subject. The subject is not overt. A second feature says sometimes the subject is explicit, as I have mentioned. So why is it explicit? Of course, there are reasons. Sometimes I want to give my instructions. Sometimes I want to avoid ambiguity. Sometimes I express irritation, الانزعاج. When I say, for example, you don't do that again. I am annoyed of your conduct, of your behavior, and I warn you, you don't do that again. Sometimes I give instruction. For example, somebody click on this icon or click this icon. I'm giving instructions. And when I mention the subject, sometimes I want to avoid ambiguity. For example, when there are some people in front of me and I want to decide to give an order to one of them, I point to him or I point to her and I say, you do that, in order to let others understand I am not talking to all of them. I mention one of them. The third feature is imperative clauses in English are tenseless. What does this mean? It means that these clauses do not show a given tense. That is to say, their tense is not direct. It can be guessed out of context. And generally speaking, the reference is either to the present or to the future time when I issue an order or a command. But in Arabic, the picture is different. Arabic grammarians said that imperative clauses are considered as one of the categories of Arabic tenses, which are tripartite, present, past, and imperative. Another feature of imperative clauses in English is that the required action is generally fulfilled in the future. Sometimes at the present time it is achieved. But in general, I expect my command or my order to be done, to be achieved, to be fulfilled, to be performed in the future. When I say, for example, do your homework, it's not necessary that you do your homework now. You do it in the future. It depends on the skill of the addressee. Another feature of English imperatives is that English imperatives are not used in subordinate clauses. And you know, subordinate clauses are set within complex sentences when there is a main clause and a subordinate clause. يعني لا يجوز أن تستخدم في الجمل الثانوية. This is a feature of imperatives in English. Now, let's shed light on these examples. And out of these examples, we are going to talk about the functions, because what is important for you as translators is the function behind using a statement or a question or an imperative. And here we are going to talk about imperative clauses. In the first example, when I say, nobody move, first, this is an order. Second, it is what? It is negative. I want to express my irritation, my annoyance, for the movement of the people in front of me. I want to warn them not to move. That's why I say, nobody move. So here, as you can see that the subject is explicit, and the function is to show irritation, الانزعاج, plus warning, تحذير. And the second example, which says, let's do our assignment. Let's do our assignment. As you can see, that this imperative clause does not start with the bare infinitive of the verb. There is let us. And if you see this item, which is let's, put into consideration that this command, this order is inclusive. Inclusive يعني شامل, ما يشمل فقط المخاطب. It refers to both the speaker and the listener. I am commanding myself and commanding you to do our assignment. Such type of imperatives are called what? Inclusive imperatives. Why inclusive? Because not only the listener is addressed, the speaker is also included. And one of the functions of such type of an imperative is to give a suggestion. Here I suggest doing our assignment. And in Arabic we say دعنا نؤدي أو نعمل واجبنا. And when I say دعنا, it's not only the listener who is intended. No, even the speaker. Number 3, don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Here, it is a negative imperative. I am expressing prohibition. I am warning you, preventing you from wasting your time. Now, let me say something about information structure. Information structure is a term in functional linguistics, which is important. And whenever you see such a term, which is information structure, put into consideration that we are talking about theme and dream. ما يبدأ به الكلام وكذلك الخبر. Don't waste your time. The theme is don't waste, and the dream is your time. In the first example, nobody move. The theme is nobody and move is the dream. But in general, in imperatives, we start with the bare infinitive of the verb. So the verb itself is the theme. When I say stop, this is a complete imperative in which we have a theme, which is stop only. So theme and dream are two basic terms in functional linguistics. And you know that as translators, we are dealing with functions. We are not translating structures. We are translating what functions. Because if we translate by depending on the structure only, the result is what? The result is a literal translation where lots of time we do mistakes. We commit mistakes. And the fourth example, which says never do that again, this is also a prohibition. I am warning you. You did something which is bad, and I don't want you to do it again. I say never do that again. Where is the theme in this example? It is never do. Both the negative and the verb represent the theme, and that again is the rem. Generally speaking, when we use imperatives, we either want someone to do something or both of us do something. In the fifth example, as you can see, to have some motif, we have the verb do before the bare infinitive. If you see such a case, I mean when there is do then the verb, it means that the speaker is insisting on doing that thing on the part of the listener, or he wants to persuade his listener to do that thing. It is emphatic. To have some more tea, I insist on you to have another cup of tea. I don't agree that you have just one cup of tea. I want you to have more. To fulfill such a case, you put do and then you bring your verb. And this is just an example. And if I want to render into Arabic, I prefer to use لابد أن تتناول كوبا آخر من الشاي. لابد أن تتناول. أصر على هذا الأمر. In the other example, there is the lexical item please. And by the way, you can put please at the beginning or at the end. Doesn't matter. Open the window, please. This is a request. I'm requesting you to open the window. And by adding the please, I am lessening the effect of my order. I am shifting it into a request. And it is up to you either to fulfill my request or not, to accept or to refuse. But politely refusing a request is not good. Another function of using imperatives is to give an offer. تعرض فد شيء، تعرض مساعدة، تعرض مأكل، تعرض مشرب، أي شيء. The form is an imperative، يعني الشكل مالتها أمر. But the function is what? Is an offer. I am offering some more tea to you. That's why I say have some more tea. Have some more tea. So, dear students, as you can see out of these examples that imperatives have functions to fulfill. These structures which express commands, express giving orders, these structures have different functions, and put into consideration that context is highly influential. The context plays a role. A teacher speaking to his student is different from a teacher who is talking to another teacher, or when you talk to your friends. The context differs. Now let's come to Arabic. Arabic imperatives basically are of two types. Either they are direct imperatives or indirect imperatives. And here there are two examples showing this. اكتب, this is a direct command. لنذهب, this is an indirect command. And of course, their forms are different. When I say اكتب, I'm using the base form of the verb. It is direct. But when I say لنذهب, I am using the present form of the verb. يعني الشكل المضارع للفعل. But it is introduced by the morpheme, which is لام الأمر. لنذهب, لام الأمر, which makes the verb in the jussive mode. So the morpheme lam, when it is attached to a present verb, it changes it into an imperative clause, but it is an indirect imperative clause. And if we render this into English, we say, let's go. So it is what? It is inclusive. I suggest going. Not only you go, I also will go. So it is what? It is inclusive imperative. In Arabic, they call it indirect. Another example is عليك بالصدق. عليك بالصدق، وهذا هم يسمى باللغة العربية اسم فعل الأمر. اسم فعل الأمر. يعني nominal verb of command. عليك بالصدق. Through this command, I am giving advice. I am giving an order, but it is not a direct order. I advise you to be truthful. And if I want to render into English, there are different forms, and all of them are accepted. I can say, for example, you should be truthful. By using the modal auxiliary should, I'm showing obligation. Be truthful. Say what? The truth. Show truthfulness in your speech. So different attempts in order to translate عليك بالصدق. Another example is صبرا على الشدائد. And you know the item الصبر is what is called in Arabic مصدر. والمصدر المقابل مالته in English is a verbal noun. Verbal noun. يعني اسم مأخوذ من فعل. So a verbal noun sometimes is a substitute of a command. يعوض عن الأمر. That's why we say it is a verb of command, nominal substitute. Substitute يعني بديل يعوض. And صبرا على الشدائد, it could be translated as be patient at the time of distress. شدة الأوقات العصيبة, distress. الضراء. Now, let's talk about the functions of imperatives in Arabic. And again, through examples. It is better to express yourself via using examples. It is more effective than just mentioning them. And the first example which says لا تكذب, هاي لا الناهية, أيضا تجزم الفعل. Here I'm expressing what? I'm expressing prohibition, النهي, prevention, preventing you from telling lies. Don't tell lies. So one of the functions of imperatives in Arabic is to show a prohibition. Allahumma irhamna, هذا دعاء. It is invocation. It is a plea to God to show mercy to us. I am praying to God to show mercy to us. And it is best translated as, may God show mercy to us. May God show mercy to us. It is a plea. It is invocation. And the third example, انتظر حتى أفرغ. Yes, I'm giving an order. I'm showing a command. It is an imperative clause, but I am showing solicitation, التماس. And it is better to add please in your translation here, because it is a solicitation. Wait till I finish, please. سافر اليوم. This is also a command. It is an order, but I'm showing my permission. I allow you to travel today. I permit you to travel today. I accept that you travel today. And in English, I can say leave today or travel today, no matter. So both languages, I mean English and Arabic, utilize imperative clause to give different functions. It is not only giving orders and others should fulfill these orders or achieve them or perform them. There are different functions as shown in the examples discussed. Now, if I want to make a contrast, I should utilize what? I should talk about the forms, and as I have said, that forms give different functions. Forms give different functions. And what is important is the context, as I have mentioned. The context is the pillar, is the hub. It guides the meaning. And inflections, and this is highly influential in Arabic. I always mention the difference between Arabic and English and the fact that Arabic is what is morphological, whereas English is syntactic. English depends on the position of the word, but Arabic depends on the morphology of the word, on the inflection of the word. And you know that in Arabic imperatives, the picture is different as far as the subject is concerned. In Arabic, to a large extent, the subject is clear. When I say, for example, اكتب, اكتبي, اكتبا, اكتبوا, اكتبن, أو اكتبن, the subject is clear. It depends on person, number, and gender. These things are not available in English. This is a big difference. So when you want to make a comparison between English and Arabic as far as imperatives are concerned, put these things into consideration. You have to mention them. Gender and number are important in Arabic. When I say uktubi, in English I say write. Uktub, also I say write. Uktubu, also I say write. You see the difference? So the issue of the subject is highly effective. In English, we have mentioned that one of the features of English imperatives is that the subject is not explicit. Usually, the subject is not explicit. It is covered. It is implicit. It is understood out of context. I would like you to go through the books, both of them. You will find things about imperatives. Go through these pages and see the examples, see what is written there. And I would like you to read in other sources in order to enrich your information. Always try to widen the scope of your reading. It is better for widening your scope is done through extensive reading. Do not depend only on your teacher or only on your textbook. This is not good. Try to develop your skill of writing through extensive reading. Always read in order to have the ability to answer any question that comes to you. Try to be critical. And when I say try to be critical, you express your opinion. You yourself express your opinion. Try to make your mind open. And of course, this cannot be achieved only through what? Through extensive reading. and you can search, you can surf the internet and find lots of information about this topic and about any topic. And of course, maybe this is the first time you hear about this type of a sentence, which is clefting. And I am sure of this. And you are going to graduate, you need to widen your knowledge. Anyway, this is the end of my lecture for today. Now, dear students, I'm listening to you. If you have